So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to open the floor to your questions and comments. I think we have about 50 minutes left. So yes, it's time for your questions and comments, and please use the microphones. I see already some gentlemen raising their hands. Yes, please, could you? And I think we will collect some questions and then get back to them.
My name is Michael Reinbrecht. I'm a former Austrian diplomat and have been head of the Middle East Department in the European Parliament. A question to Rabab. You did not mention the Muslim Brotherhood at all. You simply say they have 700,000 members. So my question to the Muslim Brotherhood is, if you compare it with a footballer, let's say, is the Muslim Brotherhood dead? Is it injured, severely or lightly? First. And second, what is the role of the EU and the European neighborhood policy? Thank you for the answer for the second question. Already given, no? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, maybe gentleman over there. Yeah.
My name is Robert Prigasa. I'm a historian and I'm frequently in Egypt too. And thank you very much for this interesting lecture. I have two questions regarding your optimistic view. I mean, partly I share that, but don't you think that first, the economic power of the military regime is still too strong to make a change in the political system probable within the next, let's say, few years? And second, I have frequently contact with people in Egypt, and most of them sound just tired. So apparently, I mean, these friends are mostly in Upper Egypt, I have to say, which is also a special region. But I don't see any like real activism or real courage for another revolution. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another question, maybe here. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my question is also for Rabab. Thank you very much for your contribution. I really enjoyed listening to you. I have one small question and maybe one bigger question. The small question is first about the Italian students. Why would someone like that, if he's not politically active and he's not Egyptian, why would he disappear? Who could possibly be behind that? What could possibly be the reason? The last time, during the revolution, I went to Egypt very frequently. I haven't been for 2 years because I just couldn't stand the popularity of Sisi. It was unbelievably insane how much the people loved him. So I'm wondering now, how is that now? How popular is he? How much support does he still have amongst the people?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Somebody over there? Yes, maybe.
No. Thank you, first of all, for your speech. It was very nice to hear something refreshing, different than we hear on the media. My question is, we were doing our high school exams in Egypt while the revolution was going on. Now we're studying here. What do you think is the best way for us to contribute for a positive change?
Yeah, maybe over there. Maybe the last one.
My name is Pinar, and I'm studying Arabic here in the University of Vienna. As I know that democracy doesn't come just like a snap to a country, how is the education of the youngsters and the kids now, and how is the freedom of books publishing in the countries that so people change to democratically thinking people? How is the situation right now? Thank you.
Will we take another one? Okay, just another one, yes. Next round. We will definitely make another one.
Thank you. It was absolutely inspiring to listen to you as a female activist in Egypt. My question is how
There's
do...
a lot of us, by the way.
I'm sure. I'm sure. How do you see your role, and what's the impact, what's the biggest impact that you think you're giving to this society, and the biggest challenge that you face as a woman, taking into consideration that many female activists have been now in jail or are dead just because of staying true to the visions and beliefs that they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Most of the questions are directed to you. Do you like to start? Okay.
Okay, so the Muslim Brotherhood, you're absolutely right.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. I actually chose deliberately not to leave the Muslim Brotherhood out, because as I said, this whole idea that this is the binary thinking, that it's, the military versus the Brotherhood, is incorrect. And especially at this moment where the biggest and only challenge that we're facing in terms of authoritarianism comes from the regime, not from the Brotherhood. It is badly wounded. Badly wounded to the extent, there's almost no organization. The website is being hacked by different contenders within the organization, the old guard, the new aspiring guard, those who are in the leadership in prison, as opposed to the leadership in Egypt that's in hiding, as opposed to the leadership that is in Turkey, and the other one that is in Qatar. So it's a big mess in terms of leadership and organization. Add to this that we have more than 50,000 political prisoners. Most of them come from the Brotherhood. A lot of I was in Beirut last week for a conference and met many activists. And I was telling them they're not Muslim Brotherhood, but I was like, oh, so now we're the Egyptians in diaspora, because they live in different countries. And one of them said, wait until you see the Brotherhood people that we meet into, that we run into. So it's not a contender to power. What's the role of the EU and the NATO? Seriously, what was their role at any point in combating dictatorship? What's their role in Syria, where there's a civil war in terms of even humanitarian aid on the ground there? What has been their role throughout 30 years of Mubarak? That's obsolete. They do the lip service, and that's about it. At any point, they choose stability over any of the principles that they supposedly stand for. But the stupidity is that they put their bets on stability every time, and they don't understand that those levels of repression are not sustainable. So they lose, the principles that they stand for and their bet on stability. The economic power of the military is part of the reason for the insustainability of that regime. Do you understand a little Arabic? Okay. I had a big military general told someone in the media, الراجل ده بياخد من الخميرة. This guy, referring to Sisi, is taking, not only is he wasting the resources. The military in Egypt, for those of you who do not know, think of themselves as an autonomous, independent entity. So it loans the state budget money and is happy. It's like, we actually help the Egyptian state. They don't see themselves as part of the state. So they have their own resources, their own economic establishments and whatnot. And now Sisi is taking from this
to provide subsidies, food subsidies, because the prices are rocketing with the dollar, but also taking military personnel to do things like plumbing sewage pipes in Alexandria, for example. This kind of military allure, those who think of themselves as not mortals like the rest of us, are seeing themselves now on the streets having to, you know, dig ditches and do those kinds of things. Plus, a lot of, because he's losing the grip on Sinai and the rise of the terrorist attacks, a lot of them are seeing that pushing them out of the barracks and into the street is not only eroding their prestige and eroding their resources, but it's actually jeopardizing their security and the security of their friends. If anything, the human rights /journalist that I told you about, Hussein Bagat, he was held by military intelligence because he uncovered 20 people being sentenced to death from the military in an attempt coup that they wanted to keep hush-hush. So actually economic power is part of the reason pushing them to want to get rid of the Sisi because he's a liability. People are too tired. A friend of mine just told me 2 days ago, we were talking about another friend of ours who's in prison, Ale, wrote a very hard breaking letter, and he was telling me, I would have been very, very sad and angry, except that I'm actually very tired. So I totally share your view, but this is always compensated by this kind of energy. That young man who was asking what to do. The young people I met in Lebanon last week, for 2 days, you know, each of them is talking to me separately about the project. One is having a digital archive for the revolution. The other is working on things in Sinai. Amazing projects. So yes, and revolutions do not happen in the streets only. They are accumulated change. I don't know why Gulio has disappeared. As much as I don't know why Ashraf Shahata, a person who has disappeared, who was pro-Sisi and has disappeared for 2 years now. We don't know. We don't know why Mustafa Massouni is disappeared, who was just a photographer. And that's part of the rivalry I was talking about, and that's the part of loss of control. Had you asked me this about any person held under Mubarak, it would be clear. We might disagree or say, you know, that's completely stupid, but at least you knew. At this point, in the case of Gulio, for example, I know that the Ministry of Interior is losing it and want to find it. But there are so many other apparatuses that they have no control over. Is it dwindling? Yes, it is dwindling. And I'll tell you, I didn't leave Egypt. I left for 3 months right after the coup, because I just, as you said, but I think Egyptians have baked Sisi into chocolate. That is literal. It's not figurative. They made chocolates of Sisi. They ate it, and they've had enough. So they're not throwing him up at the moment, but they are, you know, there's a whole, the sugar rush is over. I promise you, a year or a year and a half ago, I wouldn't dare. So I would speak amongst friends or amongst people like you, but you know, going to a grocery store or the bank, I could never say. They would say something about it and then just smile. Right? Now, no. Every time I go to the bank and there's no electricity, I was like, Allah khibit Sisi, and no one dares to say anything. So it's a different atmosphere. What's your name? Muhammad. Let's talk after the talk. There are so many campaigns, especially having to do with prisoners, which is a priority, especially Al-Aqrab prison. We have a campaign. I would love for you to be part of it, but I will give you a roster of things to choose from. Yes, but you know what? If you let me down, I'll come back next year and I tell him it was all a big show so that you could clap for him. Education, and book. No, nothing has happened in terms of the formal education. But that's the 21st century. People are not dependent on what they get in schools. People have learned how to combat tear gas from their Tunisian comrades, not from over the internet. There's alternative sources of knowledge, and people are getting this. 10 years ago, Egyptian women who were harassed on the streets wouldn't say anything about it. Now there isn't a single day that passes without regular women in public transportation who are not, necessarily highly educated or anything, taking a picture of the person who harasses her and creating a big scandal. Some of them beat them up, some of them report to the police and insist to pursue it. So the terrain is changing, the formal education is not, but that's why it's obsolete. So it's not that it's going to stop the people from change, it's just going to die out like so many things in history. Personal contribution, I have no idea. I just wake up every day and there's something to be done. So sometimes the victory is to get, medication into Al-Arab prison. I'm obsessed with Al-Arab these days, it's the worst. Sometimes it's to write an article and of course CC and get it published outside Egypt and share it. Sometimes it's just comforting, cooking and comforting young activists who I think are our wealth and having them over and having them, just cry their eyes out. So it changes from day to day. And there's so many women of different sizes, shapes, covered and not covered. One of my fiercest activists wears the niqab, actually. And I bet you, the things she do, I would never be able to do. The biggest hurdle is the exhaustion that you referred to. Sometimes, I was talking to a friend last night and I said, I wish another friend of ours had just come from Germany and was being stalked because he was reported by the embassy, and I said, you know what, I really wish that the embassy here would report that talk and that they would take me in. I'm just too tired. So that's the biggest thing. But there are good days and bad days.
Okay, thank you very much. Hamza, do you like to talk about a bit about the education system in Tunisia and how it changed over the last couple of years? The way you school books or methods are used now? Or did anything change in Tunisia's education system?
Actually, no.
It's too short of a time.
Yeah, but there is a big reform, a big discussion. The reform of the education system is discussed now in the public sphere. The Ministry of Education is organizing a kind of dialogue, national dialogue on the education. There is this feeling that Tunisia needs urgently, a deep reform of its education system, to really improve the employability of the graduates, to think about also this mismatch or this discrepancy with the labor market. And things are, I think that the education system reform will take time.
Yeah, sure.
This is really a deep and a reform for the future. And but something positive is really that this discussion or this reform is now on the agenda, and many the civil society has its word to say on the future of the education system.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, next round. Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. I would like to ask two questions, one to the Egyptian speaker and one to the Tunisian. To the Egyptian speaker, I would like to ask, of course, your answer as an activist, not as an academic, because you are presenting yourself as an activist here.
No, I'm both.
Okay, but the question is addressed to the activist now. Is there any country in the Arab world where you would regard their government more or less if it would fit your role model of a government in the whole Arab world, from Morocco all the way down to the Gulf? There would be none. Okay, that answers it simply. And with respect to from Tunisia, I would like to ask you. You see, Algeria, they had 3 elections there, and the Muslim Brotherhood came to power, and then they were suppressed some kind. Now for decades, I mean, do you think that this had some kind of influence on Tunisia? Or is it solely an unemployment and education problem? And do you think that Algeria did, I don't want to say push the Arab Spring a bit, but did it have an influence in Tunisia, having such a big neighbor? Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm very sorry, but it's now your turn. Yeah.
Oder auf Arabisch.
Yes.
Ja, aber mir ist lieber auf Deutsch.
Okay.
Mein Name ist Kabani. Ich bedanke mich bei den Vortragenden. Ich bedanke mich bei den Vortragenden für den Optimismus, den sie hier gebracht haben. Und ich teile den, weil Demokratisierung geht nicht von heute auf morgen. Und egal wie blutig und wie hart ist es momentan, man darf die Hoffnung nicht aufgeben. Die Hoffnung, die Sie von Ägypten gebracht haben, dass das Spiel vom Sisi-Regime, dass diese Polarisierung zwischen Muslimbruder und Militär nicht ganz trifft, weil es sind andere Zivilkräfte betroffen und gegen dieses Regime und seine Art. Was sehr gut in den Westen anzukommen hat, weil der Westen beruhigt sich, wenn nur Muslimbrüder oder Islamisten die Gegner des Regimes sind, und dann heißt das, sie verdienen, was dort geschieht, und zu Recht. Was sind die anderen Kräfte, ihr Potenzial, wo sind die Aprilbewegung, wo sind die, ich weiß nicht, von Al-Baradi-Gruppe, die sich gebildet hat gegen Morsi-Regime, wo sind die verschwunden jetzt? Und wegen Tunesien würde ich fragen, oder Ägypten, für beide Referenten die Frage, gibt es die Angst, die das Regime, besonders Sisi, gespielt hat, das Beispiel von Syrien, ich komme aus Syrien, die Drohung, wollt ihr Demokratisierung oder protestieren oder auf die Straßen gehen, schaut nach Syrien. Für mich ist es ein sehr schlimmes Message vom Regime selbst, dass er sagt, an der Spitze, Sisi und der anderen und auch in Tunesien, wir sind bereit, so weit zu gehen, wie das Assad-Regime in Syrien macht. Ich verstehe das nicht als nur Warnung, sondern sie zeigen, wie weit würden wir gehen, wenn gegen uns protestiert wird oder unsere Machtverhältnisse bedroht sind. Die dritte Frage, die vernachlässigt wurde von beiden, wo sind die internationalen Verhältnisse? Man hat gezeigt und analysiert, als ob das nur Innerverhältnisse, also in Ägypten Militär, Muslimbruder, andere Kräfte, in Tunesien Magda und die Kaufleute und Co. Aber wo sind die internationalen Interventionen, die gegen die Demokratisierung, wenn nicht aktiv, nur passiv eine große Rolle spielen? Danke sehr.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hello. Hello, thank you both for your interesting input and lecture. My two questions, they go to Mr. Hamza. And I would like to ask you, first, like we saw in Greece and in Spain, the uprising and the enforcement of left movements and left parties, such as Podemos and Syriza, after economic and social problems. But why don't we have them in Tunisia? And my second question is, last week we saw that Nida Tunis, they split in two parts. And now the Islamist party, Nahda, is the first party again in the parliament. How would you see the future, or how would it develop?
Thank you. I think we have, some colleagues over there. Yeah, thank you.
I want to add something to the what you say about the duration of a revolution. There are some people who say in Europe the process of the French Revolution is not yet over. And I was in Cairo 2013 at the Digital Art Festival, and I want to ask you, how do you see the role of the arts now? In maybe, of course, you know, Haitham Nawar, who is also a colleague on your university, who was organizing it. And he was planning to do it this year, but I guess there are some political restrictions. I don't dare to ask it on the internet. And to both of you, I would like to ask you, how do you see the danger with Daesh, what you have in all these other countries, the Islamic State, danger. Thank you.
Just to add a short comment, Daesh is the Arabic short form for the Islamic State, for jihadi formation, called Islamic State. It's the Arabic acronym. Okay. Yes, the gentleman over there.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I'm asking the same question again, but I want to know what are the opportunities for young people in Tunisia and in Egypt as well. Because I'm a student as well, and I think it's really important what is the role of the young people there. And because last week the ORF correspondent of Karim El-Gouhari, he was in Sidi Bouzid and he talked to a man and he asked him, what do you want us to do? What can we do? Should we try to go to Europe and die in the sea, or do we join Islamistic groups? So what are the opportunities, what is necessary to do? And how do you see the young people in the Arabic world? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, gentleman over there.
My question to Mrs. Rabab is, when the military brings their own products, like products and livestock products, etc., under the market prices, what effects and what repercussions does that have on the local economy and how they profit from it? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what the stand of the Sinai people is on the political situation now in Egypt, because on the Mubarak regime, they're kept getting unelected. Just want to know what their situation is right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think back to you too. I know we have a lot more questions, but we make another round and then just two or three comments. Yes, we have about 15 minutes left, so a lot of questions. And maybe Hamza, you'd like to start?
Okay. Regarding your questions, a question about Algeria, I think the Algerian experience is very important. I mean, important for Tunisia and for the region. And the democratization in Algeria in '88 and what happened after that through electoral process was affected or played an important role in the choices made by Nahda afterwards. I mean, the crackdown on the Islamists in Algeria was at the same time, or happened at the same, almost at the same time as the crackdown of Ben Ali's regime on the Nahda. So the pragmatism maybe of the Islamists, Tunisian Islamists, come or could be explained by this, this conviction that it's not democracy or the integration to political system is not just about ballot votes. It doesn't mean, it's important to win election. It's important to get the legitimacy of through the ballot box, but it's not sufficient. It's necessary but not sufficient. This is really something that the Islamists in Tunisia, it was not so easy for them to, they tried really in 2013, after the two assassinations that really threatened to derail the democratic transition in Tunisia, it was difficult for them to abandon the power, to step down and to say, okay, we won the elections, but we are ready to negotiate a kind of stepping down, etc. This is really important. I mean, this is maybe the difference. I'm not, Dr. Rabab could explain this, the Egyptian case, more than me, but the specificity of the Tunisian Islamists is also that they understood that it's important to get accepted by other political competitors because they are partners also. They are partners in this country. We are, in competition, but we are also partners. And maybe also to jump to and to answer your question, this difference or this fear about going to a Syrian scenario, the conflict, was many Tunisians were obsessed, not only the Islamists, there were a whole bloc in the National Constitutional Assembly which was opposed to polarization and confrontation in the streets. We talk a lot about secularists and Islamists, but there is a third part within the National Constitutional Assembly who played an important role, really a big role in brokering a kind of solution. And paradoxically, those political actors or so, they lose the elections after that, and now they are excluded. But really, I think they were a minority, but they were really Democrats, in a sense that they understood before others, that there is no choice in Tunisia, compromise or the chaos, the Syrian option, the Libyan option, etc. Legitimacy could not be just through ballot box. It's not sondocratia, like in our friends in Egypt call this sondocratia. It's through the ballot. No, democracy is also about consensus, especially in those countries which are really weak. You need really to negotiate, to build a kind of confidence between the political actors. And I remember one of these actors, he was the chief or the head of the main parliamentary bloc opposed to Nahda, to the Islamists. And he keeps saying he lost the elections and he is now political activist. Many people, they are remembering what this guy was saying and keep repeating that al-harbu awaluha kalam, in a way that really war starts with words and don't really go to the streets, otherwise things could really be out of control. This is maybe the pragmatism of all the political actors played an important role to avoid Tunisia a kind of scenario as the Syrian scenario or the Libyan scenario. I'm sorry, I didn't understand very well your question because the translation, I got it, afterward, but I hope that I answered a bit. Regarding your questions, absolutely, this is a tricky situation in Tunisia. Social movements who are becoming more and more like really actors, political actors. What is the potential of change that they could have or play? What is the margin for maneuver? The space to make change. This is we have seen that the constraints imposed by the European Union broke Syriza. And they opted for the same solutions, choices like other social democratic. Tunisia is now in the step before the social movements are trying really to organize themselves. I don't know, maybe in the near future they will become political power, political actor, but now we have a constellation of social movements that are not coordinated. What will change the fact that Nidatun split and the Nahda becomes the first parliamentary bloc in the parliament? Nothing. This is one of the paradox and maybe one of the cause of the disenchantment also of Tunisia. One of the paradox because, the politics in Tunisia is guided by not arithmetic power, balance of power between the Nahda will continue in its strategy of keep low profile and compromise with Nidatunis, even if Nahda is the first. They could govern, they could, but they will, because their integration will depend also on this coordination with their opponents or the seculars. They're quite pragmatic. They know also that the economic situation is really problematic, and they could not deal with it. They are not able, and no government is really able to find a quick solution or easy solution for the economic problems. So they think about long term. To take the power now is not really sustainable for the future of the political Islam of Nahda. The danger of Daesh, it's important. Tunisians are known to be. Tunisia is one of the main exporters of fighters in Daesh. Between 3,000 and 5,000 fighters are joined Daesh in Libya and in Syria. And especially Libya is playing an important role now in the instability of the region. The country becomes a kind of platform for training jihadists, and all the choices are complex. The international intervention could really foster a kind of the jihadist movement. Many people will be willing to join Daesh in Libya because of the international, and not to intervene is also complex because the country is in a chaotic. So there is a need really to find a compromise, political solution between the Libyan actors in order to stabilize the country and to stabilize the region. Maybe a final word about the opportunities in Tunisia and Egypt for the young people. It's crucial for Tunisia really to give hope, to create opportunities, not just in terms of economic opportunities, but also in terms of confidence and in terms of signs telling that things are changing in the country for the young generations, telling also that you have a role to play as actors, not just in the streets protesting, we want this or we want that, but you are able to change the country for the future. There is another paradox, Tunisian paradox, the revolution of young people young people played an important role in the revolution, and now the country is ruled by a guy who has 90 years old. So this is really, the political class also is very, compared to the population or to the hopes of the, is here or is on the scene, on the political scene since the 70s. So this is really also the need to open a space, and it's not to open a space, the need for the young people to create a space for themselves. No one will open the door to the young people, it's my belief, no one will, there are too many generations in the Arab countries who were waiting for their shift, we are waiting for democratization in the 70s, 80s, and now they have the opportunity to. Problem is, there is always this decalage between generation, and it could be, and and young people really need to struggle to create, to be involved more and more in the public policy making. Also in the orientation, or the future of orientation, new forms of organization are needed, new kind of reflection of our, and I'm really optimistic because of those social movements. There are signs of optimism. Many young people are now emerging as figures, as leaders of change in Tunisia on the ground, and they are negotiating with the government, with the local administrations, with the unions, and this is the way to change things. This is the how to change things.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be very brief so that we can end our time. Where are the other forces? The other forces are in prison with the Muslim Brotherhood. This includes 6th of April and whatnot, but they were never contenders of power. They were never strong enough, or else we would not have been here. But the fact that we did not have strong political organizations does not rule out that this is in the making. So what we know is in prison, but 10 years ago, no one knew of 6th of April. So there is, with this kind of outburst, there's much more potential for the rise of other groups. How can we use art to help? I think there's a lot to be done in terms of international support outside of government. People like yourselves here who are interested, supporting campaigns for prisoners, supporting, and this includes also the arts. I just got 2 nice bracelets that were done for me in 2 different prisons. So one of the things that prisoners want to keep to kill time with is actually using that. I can put you also in touch with an organization, a friend of mine who works on that specifically throughout Egypt. The military products do not disturb the market prices because those consumerist products are targeted to the rural areas and very poor areas that actually what they call in marketing of corporations, the A class, does not buy. The competition and cutting throat transactions happens over land because the military has control of all Egyptian land around all the governorates, what they call the desert belt. And those are being, because of the changing of how governorates are being reorganized, this land is increasing in prices. And this is where all the competition and the rivalry is going on. And again, that's part of the reason that there is that erosion of the ally base. Sinai, people in Sinai continue to uphold the same position, whereby they're marginalized, absolutely, economically. Now, add to this now that they are marginalized in terms of they're cut off because of security reasons. So they're constantly having raids. There is 6 kilometers of Egyptian villages in Rafah that were completely demolished. They go in black. So they decided to pull the borders towards Cairo. Because they have no intelligence information from Sinai, they again use air raids and whatnot. And this includes a lot of innocent people. Accordingly, those people, those of which who are not supporting Tanzim Dawla in Sinai, which is the equivalent of Daesh, but in Sinai, at least are neutral. You know, they think of them as two evils fighting each other. We have no business dealing with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it is already 9 o'clock. Yes, I think we should close our wonderful discussion and wonderful conversation now. And very sorry for all of you who couldn't ask once again. But you can for sure stay here. We have already prepared snacks in the next room and can directly talk to Rabab and Hamza. So thank you very, very much for a wonderful contribution.